people are just using Zoom meetings, and they're using Zoom or some type of online meeting all over the place. And I wondered if you could talk about how HOAs are using virtual meetings. And do you think it's something that will stay in place even after the pandemic is over?
Interestingly enough, I believe it will. I'm hopeful it will for several reasons. When we tried to use video before, the technology was not well dispersed in the marketplace, and there's a reluctance not to meet in person. I mean, there's clearly advantages to being face-to-face. Zoom meetings are much, and I use the term Zoom as a generic, like Kleenex. They're much more convenient. They save a lot of time in terms of travel. They're much more flexible. If you're a board member, you can have a board meeting during your lunch hour now while you're in your office.
Does an HOA have to pass and change bylaws or something in order to be able to do annual meetings virtually, or even their board meetings?
Well, their board meetings, they're in pretty good shape.
Okay.
Because the state law allows boards to meet as long as board members can freely discuss with each other. And the law is really written for telephones, but Zoom just adds the visual component.
Perfect.
Annual meetings are a little trickier. They do have to look to their bylaws to see if they have the ability to meet, to make decisions outside of a meeting through consents or paper ballots. Most every community has the ability to do that. And so what we're doing, and what we see many other homeowners associations and condominiums doing, is they're setting up their annual meeting to meet with their members through Zoom. In typically a webinar format.
Right.
So you can see the board members and the audience is just listening. They get questions and things like that through the chat functions or the Q&A function in that video platform. And then they're conducting their annual board elections by paper ballot.
Oh, they are?
They're doing that before the meeting, and they're announcing the result at the meeting.
Okay.
Or they're doing it after the meeting, after the potential board members get to speak to the membership.
What advice would you give for the homeowner as part of the HOA and the HOA board member when your reserves are high and people are questioning them?
Every association should have some amount of reserves.
Right.
And the purpose of those reserves, it's important to understand the purpose. The purpose of those reserves is to pay for future maintenance and repairs. Big ticket items like a roof on the clubhouse, or resurfacing the tennis courts or swimming pools.
Or parking lots.
Some communities, parking lots, or in some communities, even streets could be included in there. So every buyer ought to understand that that money is out there to pay for future repairs.
Okay.
And obviously, some of those numbers can be really big numbers. I mean, even a simple swimming pool resurfacing job is $25,000.
Yep. How does an HOA know what they need to put in reserves? I think there are companies out there that do reserve studies, but I don't really know anything about it. How does that work?
And that's exactly what they should do. There's a document that can be produced. It's called a reserve study.
Okay.
And the purpose of that reserve study is to itemize all of the future repair items that are going to probably occur, how much they're going to cost at the time that they're going to occur. So if we're looking at the roof on the clubhouse now, and it's a recently built clubhouse, we're going to say the roof is 15 years out.
Yep.
And then we're going to project the cost out 15 years to see how much money we're going to need, and develop a schedule for putting away 1/15 of that amount every year until the time comes to pay for it.
Yep.
That's why you wind up with these big amounts, particularly communities that have big lakes or street responsibilities. Paving a street can be $200,000-$300,000.